These tortoises are brand new to science, but if I put them outside, they'll die. This is a Tripolitanian tortoise, scientifically known as Testudo graeca tripolitania. They are one of the spurthide or Greek tortoises that belong to that famous European genus of tortoises called Testudo. We did an entire video on how they were just recently discovered, how that happened, and why people like us have them. The link to that video will be in the description of this video. I highly recommend you check that out. It's a fascinating video, and it really was amazing how these tortoises came to be in herpetology and also now in conservation. The problem with these guys and girls here is that they are very sensitive. So not unlike a very similar tortoise we keep here as well, which is yet another spurthide or Greek tortoise, the Tunisian Greek or spurthide tortoise, they are very sensitive to outdoor elements. They come from areas of the world where they are in specific climates, desert-like, sometimes coastal climates. And here in New Jersey, a wide variety of tortoises do really well outdoors here, but unfortunately there are a few that just don't. And these guys happen to be one of those species that just don't do well. And let me tell you, Casey and I tried really hard to provide for them outdoors, and sadly, some of them did not make it. So the remaining animals that are robust, strong, and here to stay are getting brand new indoor enclosures here in our reptile building at Garden State Tortoise. And what better way to do it than to join forces once again with our good friends over at Toad Ranch Cages. Jared and Denny Lynn have gone above and beyond for us since day one. They have decorated and designed basically this entire building for us with their outstanding enclosures, and they have done it again. But these are for the true tortoise enthusiast, tortoise keeper, and lover. They are essentially tortoise tables, but on an entirely new level. Instead of being made out of wood, they are made out of the same stuff that is used for marine architecture and outdoor cabinetry, not unlike what you've seen our other Toad Ranch enclosures made out of. These tortoise tables are like a dream come true for me because years and years and years of building them myself, none were quite as well executed as these are. They are fully equipped with a backdrop that wraps around the entire thing, and of course, these backdrops are from Africa. This is one of the things that Toad Ranch offers for any enclosure. They're called destination backdrops, and they help bring the enclosure to life. It's not just about its inhabitants, it's about the aesthetics of it as well. And this is something that you guys can set up in your living room if you have the room, because you can also select the colors that might match something in your home. But the point behind this is we have a very sensitive species of tortoise too. We've got the Tunisians and the Tripolitanians, and we need to make them comfortable here inside our reptile building. Now, the reason that this is going to be a better situation for them right off the bat is because we're able to control things in here. We don't have to worry about rain. We don't have to worry about temperatures plummeting or rising too high. Everything in here that spends their lives indoors is in here for a reason. And that's because outdoors here in New Jersey, or really almost anywhere in the United States, they're just too vulnerable. These are tiny animals. This is actually very big for an adult female. She's the largest one in the group. The males are topping out at between only 4 and 4.5 inches, and the females sometimes barely make it to or surpass 5. So you can see we're dealing with something small, not unlike the diminutive Egyptian tortoise, which you guys might be more familiar with. These North African Testudo species are little, and they are unfortunately very sensitive. Part of the reason is because these animals were imports. The whole goal behind trying to propagate these animals is to get captive bred blood out there. And again, if you watch that video that we did on the Tripolitanian tortoise, you'll see that we do have a sign of hope already here in the United States. So we're working hard to keep these animals as comfortable as possible so we can get them to breed. I'm happy to report that these survivors are really doing awesome, and it's really exciting to be able to do something of this level indoors for them. So, how did we get these things going? Well, you're really just assembling a box, but it's a really, really good looking box. So Toad Ranch makes everything very easy for you. They provide all the hardware, everything you need, easy instructions. And once you assemble that box, you just got to figure out where it is you want to put it, and then you can install the hood over it. The hood is where that precious lighting is going to be contained. And these animals, coming from those sun-lit African landscapes, again, sometimes coastal, are getting blasted with sun. So strong light and heavy UVB rays is what you want for these animals. And the key behind lighting like this is to change the bulbs out frequently. Don't wait 6 months. Change them every 3 maybe 4 months. This way, you're constantly giving the animals the appropriate UVB levels that they need to stay strong so that they don't succumb to something like metabolic bone disease, which is all too common with any sun-dwelling reptile. These enclosures are perfect for those of you that don't have a large backyard or a space that you can give them appropriately. So it can help both you and the animal to do something like this for them in an indoor space. And again, because these are so attractive looking, it's not an eyesore. Because let me tell you, I have made many eyesores in the past when it comes to indoor keeping. Got the animals through, kept everybody healthy and happy, but having something like this, it's nice. It's really, really awesome. So thank you, Jared and Denny Lynn. Back to the lighting. The lighting is very important for these sun-dwelling animals. If you're a lizard keeper or you know anything about lizards, there's really nothing different when it comes to these guys. These are basically Uromastyx lizards with shells. And you'll see people compare Uromastyx to tortoises like this more often than not because everything from their diet to their lighting requirements and even their substrate is pretty much neck and neck. You're also going to need a basking area, and of course, we are providing that for these animals. One corner is going to have a nice, secure, low-lying heat emitter made by Arcadia. Arcadia makes some of the absolute best lighting products on the market for reptiles. They are strong, and these heat emitters that they've created actually help to warm the animal's entire body. There are studies out there, particularly done by the Tortoise Trust, that you guys should research, where it shows that these old incandescent spot bulbs are only heating one small area on the animal's back, and that's really it. You want the whole animal to get warm. So ambient and basking temperature is important because this way the animals can reach their optimal temperatures to aid them in proper digestion. It's all about keeping everything at a minimal level when it comes to stress and keeping their health in top tier because they are, again, very sensitive animals. Captive bred, another situation, but we're just on barely scratching the surface in getting these animals to produce in captivity. It's a big task, it's a tall task, but we're up for it, and doing something like this is going to help set that stage. So, you heard me say something about substrate, right? Substrate is key when it comes to setting up these arid dwelling tortoises properly, and to get the right stuff, and when I say right stuff, I'm not talking about coconut coir or just plain topsoil or aspen shavings or cedar or cypress mulch, none of that stuff. We instead took an hour drive to go pick up the right substrate for these animals. Mom and pop pet stores are really important, not just because you can find animals there, but because you can find really awesome supplies. So we've come all the way up here to see our friends at Major League Exotic Pets in Howell, New Jersey, because we got to pick up a very special substrate for the enclosures that we're putting together. And of course, we're spending some time visiting with some amazing reptiles like this banana pectignata right here, which is an iguana. Really, really awesome. Alan's been a longtime friend of mine. He's done a great job with this store, and there's so many things that you can find here. And the reason that's important is because reptiles have specific needs. So you can't just go to any pet store and just get a blanket substrate or a blanket supply. You have to really hone in on what the animals need. And because Alan is so well versed and he's a veteran in the reptile industry and hobby for so long, he's able to get his hands on all the things you really, really need. So if you're in the Howell, New Jersey area, or anywhere in central New Jersey, make sure you come here for any of your reptile needs or amphibians or any other animal really, because he's got it all. And this place is clean, it's amazing, and the selection really can't be beat. This substrate is top-notch stuff, newer stuff on the market made by Exoterra, and it's called Desert Stone. This is the stuff that these animals occur on in nature. You can see it in the backdrops of these new tortoise tables, and if you research them on websites like iNaturalist and just general Google images of these Greek tortoises in the wild, both the Tripolitanian and the Tunisians, as well as many other types of testudo, this is what they are occurring on, folks. The days of assuming that sandy, gravelly substrates are not suitable for tortoises like this are over. That is outdated information. This is the kind of stuff that the animals should be occurring on. They can burrow into it, they get wonderful traction, it helps wear down the nails, and it is absolutely natural looking. It's all about how you feed the animals. If you feed them something like a moistened pellet on substrate, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to get caked in that substrate, the animal's going to ingest it over and over and over again, and you could end up with some kind of impaction. When in fact the truth is anything can cause impaction. Desert stone substrate. Use it for tortoises like this. It's incredible. We've been using it for a while here. Not always easy to find, but our good friend Alan over at Major League Exotic Pets made that happen for us quickly. So thanks, Alan, and thank you, Exoterra. It is a wonderful product. So we just start adding this substrate to our tortoise tables, and you can see just how wonderful it looks already, how natural, and it starts to bring the backdrop to life. And then we start having fun. This is the best part. Adding all your creativity to it, pulling in little boulders and rocks, maybe some driftwood, creating the right basking area by putting rocks in this substrate. Now you might wonder, why am I doing that? Because there's already some gravelly elements to this. It's because when you add those flat rocks, the tortoises have a nice bare area to crawl onto, and it's usually the first thing that they'll do in the morning, even outdoors, and they do it in nature. And the rocks heat up so quickly that the animals are absorbing the heat from all around them. They're getting it coming down, and they're getting it underneath their belly. It warms them up to that optimal level. Then they walk out and they start doing this. They start grazing on edibles. We used a combination of both live and fake plants. You'll see here that we used a big grass that's already dying. I don't care that this grass is dying. I want it to die because these animals prefer to hide under that low-lying, overhanging, dead vegetation. They can stay hidden in there because, remember, they are wild at heart, no matter how many times they're produced in captivity, and they need to feel refuge. They need to feel secure, which is going to keep stress levels down. That keeps them healthy and you happy. So, you can see here what we've done. We've got this big dead grass that the animals are going to root into. They're going to make little scrapes and burrows around it and hide under it. That'll make them feel secure. And then we've also used some fake plants that we get at places like Michael's and Hobby Lobby. This stuff is wonderful to use. In fact, many of the reptile industry's leading companies make fake plants like this for this exact use. Trust me, we've been using them for going on 3 decades now. There are no issues with them. The tortoises sometimes try to eat them, but they quickly learn that they are not real or that they don't taste good, and they leave them alone. We've used them with a wide variety of species for a very long time. I would not be offering you guys that information if it weren't true. So, it helps dress things up nice, and what's great about it too is you don't have to take care of those plants. So it helps to create a naturalistic indoor setup. We've got our lighting up here that is nice and strong. Again, those are Arcadia products, strong UVB, nice and bright. We've got our basking area in the corner. Underneath it are those flat rocks. They've got a nice thick substrate in here. And as far as nesting goes, these tortoises, because they are so small, dig very shallow nests. So they may be able to nest in here in certain areas just fine. If not, we would simply remove them and let them nest in a suitable bin. We've done that many a times with other species, which works out very nicely. Of course, these animals get a water dish. You might be thinking, why? They're desert animals, they're arid dwelling animals. Just because you come from the desert does not mean that you don't require water as often as possible. Remember, this is naturalistic, not natural. So the animals still need our aid. They do need us to supply them with water and food, and that's exactly what you sign up to do when you choose to be a tortoise keeper, or the keeper of any animal. The tortoises have a lot of different places to explore. They've got a rock cave. They've got logs that they can actually go underneath that have been hollowed out. They can hide under the grasses. And instead of having something like a glass aquarium that they can see out of, they've got walls that finish things off for them so that they have a boundary and they will not try to constantly get out. Turtles and tortoises don't understand the concept behind glass. So please don't keep them behind glass walls. They will always try to get out. All right, moving on to this unit, which is essentially a carbon copy of the one next door with just a different backdrop and different elements in it. This one is for our Tunisian tortoises, Testudo, Gryca, Nabulensis. You'll notice they are very similar in both size and appearance to the Tripolitanians, but they have some notable differences. Again, that's included in that video I'm going to link in the description. And you'll notice that with both of these, we played off the ground color and skin color of the tortoises when it came to the stone desert substrate that we used. Tripolitanians tend to be a little bit more on the orange side of things, so they have a red or orange colored stone desert substrate, whereas the Tunisians are more of an ochre or horn color or even yellow, and they have the ochre colored desert stone substrate, which is really awesome. A couple different colors you can get with them. And we decorated it similarly. They have a dead grass. They have both live and fake plants, rock cave, driftwood, and logs to hide in. We also added some old coral to it because this is a coastal habitat. You can see that in the backdrop. And the tortoises, same thing as the Tripolitanians. They can go about their day here by warming up under the basking area. They can forage around. Of course, we're going to be feeding them. They have a water area. They can nest in here if they need to, but if they have difficulty, we'll just move them to something else to get the job done. And it is offering them everything that they really need to stay in this more controlled environment, which is what's going to keep them healthier. They just can't handle those long strings of subtropical thunderstorms that we're going to get here in New Jersey. The other testudo species handle it just fine. But unfortunately, these two types of Greek or spur-thighed tortoises, along with the Egyptian tortoise, just can't seem to really handle it. So instead of moving them inside and outside and inside and outside, which is not good for them long term, we give them more of a permanent setup in here. That's not to say that we won't bring them out occasionally on the long strings of dry, hot weather we get, but tortoises are creatures of habit. So they don't understand when you move them that you're trying to do something good for them. They just get stressed out. So leaving them be as much as you can, starting from the get-go, getting them set up the right way from day one is what's going to set you as the keeper and the animal up for long-term success. These tortoise tables might look really elaborate to you guys, but it's nothing that you can't set up yourself. And I highly advise that you go the distance for your animals if you can. Make sure you use the affiliate code in the description of this video to shop anything at Toad Ranch and get a discount. But nonetheless, the way that we are housing both the Tripolitanian and Tunisian tortoises inside here of our reptile building, it strongly contrasts how we keep the rest of the tortoises that are in the same genus as them here at Garden State Tortoise. Let's go take a look. It's bright, it's sunny, it's super dry out here, and what might seem like dry conditions to you guys is because it is dry, but we will get rain. In fact, next week, we're gonna get a lot of spring rain. Even though it's still gonna be warm, the weather is not gonna be suitable for the Tripolitanian or Tunisian tortoises. However, the other Greek tortoises that are out here seem to handle it just fine, and in some cases, when it comes to some of them, like these guys, they don't need any intervention from us at all. These big brutes here are Ibera Greek tortoises, scientifically known as Testudo graeca ibera, more commonly known as the Asia minor tortoise. These are also spur-thigh or Greek tortoises, but because of where they come from in the world and the way they've evolved, these guys can handle no matter what the mid-Atlantic region throws us. That goes for all 4 seasons, that goes for strings of rain, extreme droughts, you name it, this tortoise can handle it no problem. And that really contrasts the others indoors and why we're not keeping them out here. There would just be way too much intervention that we would have to provide those tortoises with, which would inevitably cause them stress. Because again, like I said, you don't want to just keep moving them around and moving them around. I mean, just look at the size of these things. Big difference. These are very brawny animals, much more suited for conditions that may fluctuate, whether it's frequently or infrequently. And these animals also do face a pretty significant winter in their native ranges, which means they are able to hibernate out here no problem. They'll dig in wherever they want in these big enclosures, and each and every year they come out of hibernation just fine. These tortoises right here might look awfully similar to the ones we just showed you, the Ibera, but they are in fact another subspecies of spur-thigh or Greek tortoise, and these are the Armenian Greeks, Testudo graeca armeniaca. These tortoises and the Ibera are part of the eastern clade of these spur-thighed tortoises, meaning that they are separated from that western clade, which are the more sensitive small ones indoors, the Tripolitanian and Tunisian tortoises. These animals, just by nature, tend to be bigger, more robust animals, able to withstand more. They come from environments that experience more fluctuation, whereas those tortoises really should be kept at a little bit more of a constant temperature with constant conditions. They do have a winter where things cool down, but nothing like what these animals experience. And again, these animals really can handle the rain. You like my new do? I'm not trying to confuse you guys any more than I already have, but there are western clade Greek tortoises or spur-thighed tortoises that can live outdoors here, and that would be these. These are the Libyan Greeks, Testudo graeca cyrenaica. But we've shown you in other videos, we do have to do extra things for them. They have heated greenhouses. They're on very dry, well-drained substrate, and they are in full sun with low-lying vegetation at all times, because these animals can get out of the rain and cool by going into their heated shelters when that stuff ensues, but still, they are a sensitive animal, and we have been through the ringer with them over the years. They're doing well now, but they're a larger tortoise. This is a male. The females are even bigger than this. Not quite as big as the Ibra or the Armenians, but they are considerable size, so they really wouldn't do well indoors unless we had a massive tortoise table for them. So you see, it can get confusing, but really it comes down to you as the keeper to do as much homework as possible. You have to know the ins and outs of the ecology and biology of the animal you're trying to keep. Just because it's in a captive management situation doesn't mean you shouldn't try to understand the situation in nature as best as possible, because then you'll know exactly what to do, whether it's indoors, outdoors, or a combination of both. There's a lot of fun to be had in setting up your animals, again, indoors or out. And it's something that we really love to do here. So stay tuned, because we're gonna be building Rockalina her very own outdoor enclosure.